Yes, welcome back to the stream, the channel. Big ups. Now, I do just want to say, apologies for not streaming. Hello, I'm back. Apologies about that. Now then, as I was saying, apologies for not being able to stream over the weekend. Honest answer is that, number one, I had work, but also I've been ill over the weekend, which is just blinking throw my head off. I would have streamed yesterday, but again, I just wasn't feeling better. I was feeling worse than I was the day before, but I was just hoping maybe I'd progress through the day. But I'm feeling a lot better today, and I think the next 2 days I'm going to improve a lot as well. So big ups to everyone who's tuning in. I do appreciate it, and I'm really hoping that this week we can get back on track. And look, we got a big game coming on Wednesday, and I should be able to do the watch along for it as well, Blues, which is the good news. But anyway, sadly, this isn't a stream all about good news, as we all know City dropped 3 points against Aston Villa on the weekend yesterday specifically. So shall we share my screen in just a moment? Let me pull up the right thing. I'll share my screen in just a mo. And here we go. Big ups to you, Talsif. I'm going to read out all your comments now. So first of all, you started with, so you were going on about apologies for the delays as well. Just some household stuff going on. But anyway, it ain't looking good, bruv. We're in fifth place behind, and 6 points behind first place Arsenal. Spurs are above us, even Sunderland and Bournemouth are above us. We need to pattern up. We can't have Arsenal winning the league. Big ups to you, Talsif. Finally, I'm in your live. Hull City joint 8th. 8th joint points, 6th with not too shabby. A not too bad glimpse, considering you had no transfer window, I believe it was anyway. But big ups to you, Glimpse. I'm glad Hull are doing a lot better this season. Again, I want you guys in the Prem. I'm sure a watch along for Man City vs Hull is destined to come this channel's way. It would just be legendary. But I do agree with you, Talsif. But I'm also, this one result doesn't worry me too much. Okay. Of course, there were worrying teams in our team anyway. Okay, we all knew, or at least I knew, but I'm not going to claim to be like some like super intelligent person. I think we all there was all concerns about this team, but the team was doing the job. Do if Man City can still win the Premier League? Yeah, I actually do. I do believe so, but even before yesterday, it was never going to be easy. We were still the underdogs yesterday. We're still the underdogs now. Arsenal are the favourites as of now, especially considering Liverpool losing 4 games in a row. Here is the table at the moment. We are fifth. We're joint on points with Man United, who have been clowned on this season. And like you said, we're 6 points behind Arsenal. We're not perfect by a long, long way. And there are teams above us that we like to think ourselves that we're better than. We play Bournemouth next week. They are second. And it's at the Etihad. It's not going to be easy, The big thing is, will Rodri be available for the Liverpool game? I hope so. We need our best players. The only thing Arsenal rely on is set pieces. If set pieces never existed, we would be top. True, Talsif, but I don't look at it that way. At least I try not to. Set pieces are a part of football. I know they score a lot of them. I know. Yeah, I genuinely know. But set pieces are just a part of football, man. We have to just. It's an acceptance, They've gotten brilliant at them, and we can't take away. We can't take that away from them. I'm afraid sure it's maybe a bit boring to look on the outside, thinking, "Oh, they scored from a set piece again." But I'm sure teams don't like looking at us sometimes and saying, "Oh, Erling Haaland scored again," you know. And Erling Haaland's the big thing I want to talk about in the stream, not in the fact that he's bad or is dragging us down. I just think we rely on him too much still. It's something I've spoken about in previous streams, something I'll talk about now. You lock down this man, the rest of the team can't bring together goal output. This season, I don't think anyone in this team's got more than 2 goals by themselves. I think Nunez has got 1 or 2. Stone's got none, Diaz none, Vardio none, Reinders 1, Bob none, Foden 2, Bernardo 1, Savinho 1 or 2, and Haaland 11. You lock down Haaland, we are suddenly so goal deprived. I watched multi-view so I could watch some Man City vs Villa. If Haaland gets injured, who gets your goals? That's what I'm saying, Glimpse. That's the big thing. We are so reliant on him. Okay, and don't get me wrong, you can be reliant on a player. Okay, and it can go brilliantly for you. We can be reliant on Erling, but like you said, if he gets injured, the worry is there. Marmoush, yeah, there is Marmoush, and I really do rate Marmoush. Okay, I think he's going a little bit under the radar because his injury hardly played this season. And so I do see that, Tassif. I do think Marmoush can come into the team and just start scoring the goals. Maybe not to the volume of Erling, but at least to a competent level, Burnley squad so average, it's kind of terrible, so 16th is great. Yeah, to be fair, the newly promoted teams, they're putting up a fight, aren't they? Here's the table. 16th, 16th and 15th, 10 points and 11. That's 5 points above 18th and 6 points above 18th. As long as these 3 teams continue to underperform with their great squads, then the newly promoted teams won't have to worry. Okay, it's really a blessing that these 3 teams are playing awfully. To be honest, Forest, they've completely done themselves over with whatever they're doing with their managerial situation. West Ham, they just can't seem to bring in the right guy. To be honest, I think they wanted to move from David Moyes, move from the old, bring in the new and whatnot. And it just hasn't been working out. Graham Potter stayed way too long, as well, I'd like to say. And I feel bad for Nuno, because he's going in there, he's had no transfer window, he's having to try and get this whole squad together, It's not an easy job. Rest in peace, the Bristol striker. Do you think we can keep a clean sheet? No, it's not manager fault. It's all that squad is the worst in the league. Bowen carrying them. Yeah, Bowen is really a shining light in that team. Do I think we can? Yeah, I do. It really depends on what Liverpool line up with. Their goal threat is undoubtedly there. I think we can keep a clean sheet against anyone if we put our minds to it. But Liverpool, they score in almost every game they play. Galatasaray seem to be the only team to keep them goalless. Even Brentford scored, conceded 2. United conceded 1. Chelsea conceded 1. Frankfurt conceded 5. So they're a very tough team to keep out. It's really just about outscoring them, and it really depends on what they line up with. Because for me, their most dangerous attacker at the moment, not exactly a hot take, but it's Hugo Ekitike. For me, Salah, he's been off it this season. Isak really yet to hit the ground running, although I think Liverpool weakest is probably defensively, and we have to exploit that. We know the way to beat Liverpool. Arne Slot said it himself. You get the ball away from their presses, okay, which their frontline presses will be predominantly these 4, okay, with these 2 helping out as well. So get the ball forward and basically press their weak defence, because Kirkes hasn't been brilliant this season defensively. He's been quite sloppy. Conor Bradley's not awful, but he can be got. Van Dijk's obviously brilliant, and Konate's having an off season too. I do believe we can keep a clean sheet against Liverpool. Yeah, again, it just depends on how we manage it. But yeah, you've got to keep Liverpool quiet is the thing. You let Liverpool into the game and you don't take your chances, you're asking for a loss. Okay, and taking chances is a big thing for us this season. I mean, big things, and we struggle with it. Like, let's just have a look at the Villa game, the game we're meant to be talking about here. We had 18 shots with 4 on target. That's double the amount of shots that Villa had, and more shots on target than them too. We didn't score a single one. Higher XG and everything like that. It just shows that those numbers mean nothing unless you put it into the back of the net. We need to take our chances. Don't matter who you are, Erling, Foden, blinking John Stones. Yeah, I expect everyone to. You need, if you get, like, look, Haaland got shot again. He needs to take one. Okay, it seems a lot of them went down the middle, by the way. When will Neri get a game time? I hope he gets game time. I hope he gets game time against Swansea, because it'd be good to just get minutes into his legs, Will Alisson be available against us? I don't know. I don't think so. I think he's scheduled late November, if I'm not wrong. I do believe Chelsea can make top 5, but it's not a good start. No, Cole Palmer's not doing you any favour. Glimpse, is it? Yeah, it's been a tough few games here as of late. Can I say Van Dijk has not been performing this season? Yeah, I do feel for Van Dijk a bit, because he played an absolutely ridiculous amount of games last season. Credit to him, but that's probably catching up a little bit. Like, Van Dijk is what, 33 now, 34 now. So minutes aren't going to start catching up to him. Okay, he's getting older and whatnot. Apparently, he's with Alisson for a bit, if I'm completely honest. So where should we look? So yeah, Haaland again. You keep this guy quiet. It's probably going to be fine. Haaland, least touches. That's not really a surprise, to be honest, with the least amount of touches. Because that's quite typical of him. But if we have a look at his XG, non-penalty XG, it was a 0.23. So clearly the chances that he did have probably weren't the best. Big chances missed, 1. All of his shots were on target. Again, we'll have a look at Phil Foden now. Apparently Phil Foden was probably our best player by the looks of it. Created the most chances, that being 7. Only had 2 shots himself, so I'm quite happy that Phil had a good game here. It shows that he's making chances and whatnot, which is what we've been asking for a little bit from Phil. Focus a bit more on chance creation as opposed to having a hit yourself. Although don't be afraid to have a hit if you think you can score, obviously. Reinders, 2 shots, neither on target. Apologies. Still got that cold, still dealing with that. Yeah, big up Samuel's tuning so far, but yeah, sorry. It wasn't an easy game for us, quite clearly. Villa, they got their goal in the first half, and it seems like they kind of, not to say like they sat back and whatnot, they obviously did attack, but they took it and they ran with it, really. They're on good form, to be fair, and so were we. But they are on good form, with 4 wins in a row now. They got Liverpool next week, so it's quite polar opposite, really, for Villa and Liverpool. It's a big week coming up for them. We've got a big game coming up in Bournemouth, though. We can't be sneering away from that. Bournemouth are a very good team. Semenyo, he's having an unreal season, and it's going to be a real interesting one. Just going to have a look. If I have a look at this now, Semenyo, he's on 6 goals. I think he's on about 3 assists as well, if I'm not wrong. 3 assists, so 9 goal contributions in 9 games. It's brilliant numbers. Haaland's on 11 goals. I don't think he's gotten any assists. If he has, it's probably like 1. Which is still like crazy. Shame that he didn't score as well. It's that like scoring run has ended, but I don't doubt they probably pick it back up. Touch wood. I don't want to jinx him now. But yeah, look, as far as this game goes, now then, am I worried about what this loss means for the rest of the season? This loss specifically, no. Okay, I've seen City, 10 games to go, 8 points behind first place, and then we win the league. I'm not worried that with 29 games to go, we are 6 points behind. I'm not. But at the same time, that's not an excuse for me to be like, oh, lose 3 more games in a row if that's what you want. No, okay. We cannot. What I don't want to see is 1 in 14 again, or 1 in 10. I don't even want 1 in 5. Okay, this has to be 1 defeat in 10. Which is what it is right now. Okay, we have 9 games unbeaten. We've lost this one. It's 1 defeat in 10 games right now. I want, do that again. Okay, and improve upon it. For me, any games that you didn't win / drew, turn into wins. Improve upon yourself. We cannot let this loss drag us down. Otherwise, that is when you fall away. That is when you truly fall away. Because right now, this isn't an impossible gap. This isn't ridiculous. Arsenal, they're 9 games in. They've still got difficult games coming up. Sunderland, one way or another, Stadium of Light. That's not an easy one. Tottenham, it's a derby. Chelsea, Chelsea get their act together. It's not easy. Villa Park, never an easy place to go. The new Everton ground, not easy either. And as far as those places go, yeah, that is probably as hard as it gets. Turf Moor could prove difficult, but I don't think it will. Brentford can be tricky, but Arsenal seems to have their number every time. Wolves, I'm not worried about. I think Arsenal will have Brighton. And then we get to New Year, so I'm not really going to worry about that just yet. But yeah, as far as this Villa game goes, yeah, it sucks that we lost. It's a real dampener because we were in real good form, and that we were on top of the world, and we were probably thinking, let's keep it moving. We can keep going off this. We're looking like us again, but it doesn't quite work like that. But we'll be fine. Let's have a quick look here. Reinders agrees that City can't rely on Haaland for goals this season. So, kind of annoying. I don't like it when I see this kind of stuff. Like, it's getting all agreeing and whatnot. I've seen multiple players saying this. Like, I saw Foden say it. I saw Reinders say it. I've seen a couple players say it. It's good and all you're saying that, man, but we are still so reliant. I want a game where Haaland isn't the scorer. Okay, I'm not really bothered, as long as we get the 3 points. But I want a game where Haaland isn't the scorer. Haaland does miss chances, but we still win 3-1, I want games where Haaland can afford to have an off game, because off games are normal. It's so irregular for a player to go an entire season and not have an off game. Okay, that's why I said that Rodri deserved the Ballon d'Or, because I genuinely believe he went through the whole season and just gave 7 out of 10 minimum. With the occasional just super performance as well. Well, I say occasional. A lot of them were just clinching performances. I do feel a sneeze coming on. Yeah, Pepe, I don't live in October, November thinking, what's going to happen if we don't win the Premier League? Again, like he's saying, it's game by game. Swansea now, okay? Mine shouldn't even be on the Premier League now. Of course they're going to be a little bit, because Swansea is because the Premier League is such a big thing and it goes on till May. You can't help but think about it a bit. But yeah, okay, we've got I don't doubt that we can bounce back. Foden created the 7 chances against Villa, more than any other player. Villa have now won 3 consecutive home league games against Man City for the first time since 1975. Bernardo managed to put them deep. They struggled in some moments. Can you speak about chances and whatnot? But we still lost, which is it just annoys me. Getting under my skin a little bit because off. You did have the much better. Goal. Yeah, again, finishes need to be better. And that seems to be the general consensus of this game. The performance itself wasn't horrendous. Okay, This wasn't like an absolutely eye-wrenching performance. That was just such a hard watch. Like I've seen worse games against Aston Villa away from home, and I think you have too. Here is one. Just off the top of my head. Just trying to find it. Can't find it. Oh well. 2-0. Maybe 1-0. What? I think it's just the main thing. But so hoping we can progress through to the next round. Fingers crossed. Big up to someone who tuned in. I really do appreciate the support as per usual. It's always good to stream, and I'm really hoping I'm back tomorrow as long as nothing funky happens, guys. Big ups to you.